What's up, Bret?
Sorry, I've been ripping to run. We had our first AM workout. Well, it's kind of one of those days, right? We did a lot of our work up front, but really only added one new additional signing today. I'm going to talk about Malik just because the first time we got together, you guys didn't know he'd already signed, right? So the best kept secret in the Midwest. But Mac Resetich, I just can't say enough about what we learned about him. He's actually from my neck of the woods, didn't grow up too far away from where I was. And when his name came up in his hometown and his program, I kind of started smiling, and I give a lot of credit to Pat Hamilton, our personnel department, especially Pat Ryan. Pat Ryan was a huge part of Matt Bailey a year ago, just staying on top of an in-state prospect, kind of an unknown guy. We actually kind of started to talk to him. He came for a game, I guess it was probably mid-year, midway through the season. I had a chance for our guys to eyeball him and be around him. I specifically said, let's stay on the down low on this one. I really liked his film. I remember watching like the first 10 plays and all of them were touchdowns. I'm like, how many touchdowns does this guy have? And they said 30. And I was like, really just engaged and intrigued. And that's what kind of led us to where we were this past weekend. I knew going out of the first signing day that obviously he was still a little bit under the radar from everybody else's opinion, but he's high on the radar for us. So with the bowl game and preparation, all that, I said, let's take an inventory. In January, I'd actually, felt a chance that I was going to have some transition on our staff, so I really didn't push the envelope. I just felt that I wanted to keep this one to ourselves and where we're at. So when January rolled around, I said, let's find the best weekend or best opportunity to go see him 2 weeks in a row. So I believe it was Pat Hamilton who went and saw him the first time in a basketball practice, came back, actually called me after the practice and said, Coach, what are we doing here? We need to go. And then the last Saturday that we could go out, the second to last Saturday that we could go out on the road, Coach Ryan and Coach Henry, Aaron had been out all week seeing all kinds of 24 and 25 prospects all over the country, our best defensive prospects, and I sent him in to watch Mac play basketball, and he literally came out of the gym and gave me a call and said, this is where we need to go. So I wanted to wait till the last weekend just so we could kind of put things in perspective and had him in this past weekend. And to his credit, when we offered him, he kind of took a moment, composed himself. Mom and Dad were with him, and then had a chance to go back and talk to his family and friends, and called us on Monday and said he wanted to go. I said, let's do a favor. Let's just wait till we get to Wednesday to announce this. So I have known and noticed that when we draw attention to a player, all right, we gather a lot of people around us. So I kind of wanted this one to be in our hands all the way through. So I'll give you a couple clips here of Mac. I'm sure a lot of you probably already seen him. I think it was noted to me that he had 0 stars at 7 a.m. and after we signed him, he jumped up to 3. I don't know how that happens. But I think it's really kind of just a nice addition. He's got the all-hair team to begin with, obviously. But I think the great thing about him is he plays in multiple positions. Here you're going to see him at quarterback, but he really does a lot of different things on the field. I think I got 6 plays here for you, right? Just really good athlete, obviously a baseball player, already duly noted, but very, very good at changing direction. He has really good vision. You'll see him playing here on defense, here on offense. Just he's a little bit better athlete than probably everybody on this field, but he knows where to go with the ball. He knows to take an angle and run, and he just kind of pulls away from it, right? And I think the thing that shows up repeatedly on film here is just intelligence, football IQ, why the ball's going on. Here you see him playing midfield, and just the burst, right? So right now, right, if you just look at it from a football coaching perspective, his heels are on the 5-yard line, right? Obviously, the 10-yard line here, 20. Ball started about 25. You're going to see the ball kind of break out on the angle here, right? He's coming, he's flying, right? So now the ball, he started at the 5, right? He's running straight sideways at the 17, and he makes contact with him on the 18, right? So in his decision to go straight sideways, he gained 16 yards, right, and made a tackle that nobody else really saw. So he just pulled the pin, came, and then as far as just from a defensive point of view, hat in front, runs his feet on contact. A lot of guys will just go ahead and dive on this play, but one thing that I look at all the time is what do we do on contact? Here you see him contact, and you see him actually continue to take 2 more strides, which means he's running through the tackle, right? He's got the ability to do it. Not always available, but it's a lot of times a lost art, right? Here we go, playing mid-center, right? So now again, the ball's being snapped somewhere here about the 10-yard line, about 11-yard line, because the chain crew's a yard short of the goal line. But here you see he's a midfield player, right? reading reaction off the quarterback throw. So he's on the 1 yard line. Ball's being thrown off the right hash, right? So just do the math, right? So this ball's being thrown on the 16-yard line. He's in the middle of the field, right? He's not even on the hash. When he sees this, he sees the quarterback, and you can see his shoulders. The first thing that tells you as a coach where someone's going is his shoulders. It's not his feet. It's not his eyes. A lot of times a player will open his shoulder, all right, open his hip before he ever tells you where he wants to go, right? So the first thing I see is he's a balanced player here. He steps sideways with his right foot, right? But he sees the vision that opens that left shoulder, that left hip. He's still looking at the quarterback, but before this ball is even out of his hands, he's now engaged in a full hip turn, a burst, and all he can do is extend. Now this is really, really something, right? A lot of players might try to go this, right, and do something with the left hand, right? He knew where the ball was in the receiver. He hit it with his forehand, right? His front hand, not with his backhand, which is going to decrease the amount of length he has. He reaches with the front hand because this maximizes the ability that he has. See how much higher that right hand is than his left hand? That's not normal, right? That's not normal, right? Like for him to reach with his right hand, deflect that thing and put it out of bounds where no one else can hit it. He couldn't pick it like he could if he reached his left hand. He wanted to catch that ball with his right hand. He knew that at that point in time, the only thing he could do is deflect the ball with his right hand, high point, reach it better than anybody else, and knock the ball out of bounds. Huge football intelligence. Huge. Can't coach that, all right? Coach Henry may take credit for that next fall. Shit, no. This is football instincts, right? Here we go. So now, obviously we got a punt situation. He's back there as a punt returner. As a good coach, you find as many ways possible to get the ball in the hands of a good player, right? So here it is. Obviously a line drive kick. The ball lands here about the 33-yard line. Takes one hop, all right? He has the ability to get in front of it, his little baseball skills. Takes it on the high hop. This is baseball at its finest, right? Takes it, all right? Takes it vertical, and now goes vertical. And now knows he's got the ability to speed and outrun everybody else, right? A lot of kids might, with this color outside here, with receivers, a lot of guys would probably just take this thing and make it vertical. He realizes all this, knows he's got a soft edge, right? He knows he can outrun that guy, doesn't even get it in play, and takes it around the edge, right? Just, again, great football awareness and finish to everything that he's doing. Here's a good one, too. This is another one down in the red area. Obviously, the ball is being snapped on the 11-yard line, right? Just goes, right? Just goes, right? So I'm telling you, I don't know what they call Coach Tieman's got a defensive package here, but looks like he's just kind of a bonus player to the quarterback as it reads. He realizes the ball gets thrown, watch him, right? So he's dead foot, 1 foot forward. He's not even, this guy's running straight sideways, right? He's running straight sideways. All he does is take that left foot. Again, the first thing that tells him where he's going, watch his left shoulder and left hip. See how it opens? He's got his vision on the ball. Actually, a 1 yard tackle for loss, right? Just off the vision, instincts, reactions, and ability to go get it. Here we go. Midpoint center, again, free safety. I love this play, right? 20-yard line hash. He's reading the apex of the quarterback. He's got a receiver out here. He's got a receiver out here. Watches the quarterback's vision. Right now, he just kind of sits and waits. Now, most kids, right? Most kids, when a quarterback begins to advance, right, they'll kind of drift forward, right? He just stays there, trusts his vision, turns and reacts, and then doesn't just go get it. He gets that ball, comes in front of everybody else, doesn't go sideways. He goes and attacks it, catches the ball at the highest vertical point. Got a big play down in the red area, right? Not only prevents them from scoring, but gives the opportunity for his offense to have a change of momentum, go the other way, right? So just really, really good football intelligence, IQ. We're going to start him at safety. They can play a variety of positions. So this is my first chance to really kind of show and showcase Malik. We're going to quit here at 2:30 because I know he's got a little audition we're going to show for you, but Malik is probably one of the most enjoyable recruits I've ever been around. Identified him early on as a player that we knew we wanted to have in this program. Obviously, from the Chicago Simeon, Terrence Jameson, the lead recruiter, but he tag teamed with George McDonald and really our entire staff. We knew this was anybody that's in the state of Illinois, we take it as a collective staff to go get, right? And this is probably a journey from the time he committed. I remember the night he committed to another school, I was at Dan Hartled's house at a fundraiser. My wife and I were working with him to raise some money for baseball. We agreed to a dinner. There was a dinner going on, and all of a sudden I get this phone call, right? And I'm like, I knew it was decision time. So I went and I sat on Dan Hartled's couch, and I think I talked to Malik for about 30, 35, 40 minutes. Just sat there and talked about where he was at, told me what he was doing, explained to him, hey, we're going to stay with you. We're going to continue the good fight. There's a long time before we got to make a signing day. And actually, when Malik committed to us, Stan Hartland was one of the first guys I called because he goes, I don't know how you don't get that guy, right? And it was just, that was kind of the story. And then his story, the way he kept it a secret was all his idea. Just an awesome, awesome kid. So here you see him where we're going to play him at wide receiver. Does a lot of great things, but just super, super instincts, natural ability. You see the length here, right? The ability to go up one hand this thing and bring it to the other hand. Only thing you can do is get it that other hand and then retain the catch, right? Like just his whole game. You know, I went and watched him play live. Any play can be a human highlight reel. Again, here's just a nice little low cross, right? Again, catches the ball, and then what he does in yards after catch is truly incredible, right? So, side swipes this guy, got 3 guys, right? Got 1, 2, 3, boom. Makes that guy miss. Now this guy, stiff arm, so he's got physicality, got a stiff arm right here, stiff out, and then he outruns everybody else. Just truly got some exceptional yards after catch ability. There's another one flexed out. I think this is more of a short route, and it turns into something special. So the ball is caught here on the 20-yard line. You see this offensive play call in our system quite a bit, right? So it's just one-on-one. I'm better than you. Stiff arms, right? Not just runs away from him, right? He stays in proximity, throws the left hand, not effectively, right? Just puts it right in the middle of the sternum, uses his length. He's extremely long, right? Do have to work a little bit on ball security with him, but here he goes, the ability to take off. Guy's got the angle, right? So we work this drill all the time. Some of you have been in practice or show. I work this sideline drill, right? Get this guy to full speed commit over the top, take it back inside. Now he knows, has the awareness presence to stiff arm back on the player behind him. Takes care of that. Obviously, we got to give him a shirt that doesn't have this type of length. Would really help this situation, right? So now he's got a hold of him by the shirt tail. Keeps fighting, pulls himself out of it. Now he's got a one-on-one here, obviously drags it all the way down to the 3-yard line, right? So a huge change in field position. Get him in a shorter shirt, we might have had a touchdown, right? Here we go, on the slot again. Just a really good vertical ability to go up and catch the ball. Got 3 guys right here. Everybody knows where he's at. It's not like Malik Elzy just showing up out of nowhere. Everybody knows where he's at. So he's going to go triple, double, coverages. Quarterback throws it where no one else can get it, comes down and gets it. Now he has the ability to also break the ball, break several tackles, knows where that end zone is. Just another good example of understanding where he is, what he needs to do. Here's another good look. So now it's on a vertical route. He knows it's coming. Settles down. His quarterback's in a little bit of trouble. Goes up and high point. High points the football. Takes it down outside where nobody else can get it. Like 2 defenders here. Some kids might bring the ball down in his right hand, his dominant hand. Takes it down in his left hand, not afraid to put it in his left hand, spins, reacts, in the end zone. All right, another yard after catch, time and time again. One more wide receiver play. Outcut vertical route, catches the ball out above his catch. That catch radius that he's had is some of the best I've ever ran around. So that's his catch radius, right? His ability to catch the ball outside the framework of his hands, of his body, underhands, stiff arm. Walks in the end zone. Got to be great at ball security, but a lot of really good things. So now, here's what we should know, right? He's a punter too, right? So he's a punter. Got a good strong leg. Ruh-roh doesn't need it. The ability to do some special athletic things, not just at the wide receiver position, but I told him in the recruiting process, I'll line him up anywhere, offense, offensive wide receiver, running back, quarterback, defensive back, whatever we can do to help win games, he's going to do it, right? So those are our 2 guys from a recruiting standpoint that we've added to the mix. I'll go ahead and answer some questions at the end about recruiting, but I thought I kind of did full cycle. I haven't been able to talk about our new hires, right? So I've been able to add a couple new coaches to the staff. Thad Ward, a lot of you guys already knew Thad from his prior experience of being here. I actually knew Thad before I ever came here through just the coaching profession. And then a lot of guys on our staff talked to me about who he was, what he represented, why he's here. Intrigued me at the time, but obviously I filled my staff up. So to get that here back with us has been absolutely awesome. Just overly impressive the last 2 days, who he is, what he is. During the interview process, myself, Coach Lonnie, Coach McDonald, just very, very excited to add him in the running back room. And then obviously Charlie Bullen, a guy that several of my guys on staff knew. I'd known Charlie a little bit through the through the profession. I'd been down to visit with the Dolphins when he was there. Jay Kaiser was with him at Miami. Obviously, a couple players that I coached at Arizona, I reached out to when this opportunity came for an outside line. Literally the day that I sat down with their outside linebackers when there was transition, I told them I wanted to bring someone in with pass rush value. I really think our guys are some guys that could potentially make a big jump in that area. And I told them I intended to bring someone with great pass rush value and someone that could help their skill set grow. Obviously, when you lose good coaches, to replace them with even better coaches is a goal. And I'm excited because I think Charlie brings some things that nobody else in this room has had. He's worked with some of the most elite pass rushers in the NFL. Two of those guys I talked to verbatim said, obviously very incredible coach, but an incredible motivator, great teacher in the classroom. So really excited to add them. And then also Kevin Richardson, who was with me previously as a graduate assistant, went away and was a DB coach out in New York and Long Island. I actually talked to him to coming back, and he's going to join us as an analyst. Gave him a little pay bump, brought him back, and he's now in the mix with us here as a analyst as well. So I got one more transition that I'm going to talk about that unfortunately last year when I gave you guys news about Ben Miller, Ben was in a situation that really didn't know where it was going to go. Things have been positive since then, but I'm going to officially transition. Ben, working with our administration, is going to transition to a off the field position. I'm going to bring in one more coach in the staff, but to kind of answer those questions, I'm going to let Ben come up here. And you guys are always asking questions, so I just said, would you be willing to come up and say a few words? So I want to bring on Ben Miller, let him kind of talk about his scenario as it is.
My wife had me make notes here, so I don't forget anything. But good to see you guys. You've been through a lot this year, right? It's been a lot. Just thankful for Coach B. You guys see just how incredible he is. His leadership and really wisdom for me. It's a different kind of journey, right, that I've been on instead of football. But he's been absolutely incredible to me and him and really my family, my wife, my kids. They're incredibly strong, and what we've gone through and all that's only made us stronger and really good. We got a great staff here. I mean, everybody here has been super supportive of me and what I've had to go through, especially a guy like Jason Epperson. You guys behind the scenes, you guys don't even know how incredible he is. Josh Whitman and Roger Denny, those guys have worked hand in hand. Their leadership's been incredible for me, and this community is awesome. I mean, just everybody has been great, especially for me, but for my family too, because this has been really difficult. You guys didn't know, we didn't plan it this way, but a year ago today was actually when I was diagnosed, and we didn't do this on purpose, it just happened to be that way. But I was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. It's been a challenge. I've really been able to focus on getting healthy, getting to a point where I can hopefully get back and do this, but my biggest focus was just being able to get healthy and focus and help this team and really not be a distraction. I've seen Jeremy a couple times like look at me and I'm just like, just trying not to, I didn't want anything to come in the way of what we're trying to do here with this football program. Right now I'm kind of living by like a 3-month rule. Every 3 months I get scans, I get blood tests, I get all that. So right now I just had one last week. Everything was as good as it can be. I'll get my next one in April and kind of living that way with that. Just got done with treatments about 12 days ago was my last one. So hopefully I'll be done with that until at least April, and then we'll see what rolls from there. But we don't know what the future holds for me, so that's kind of why this is happening. But I've got a great care team. The goal in this is to cure it. So it's not something that's like we're just, hold on, our goal here is to cure this thing. So I'll continue doing this season what I did last season for Coach B, hopefully a little bit more in depth, a lot more in depth. Whatever he needs, I'll be here. I'm excited. It was really cool to learn from a head coach's perspective what he does on a day-to-day basis and what he needs. And as you know, you see him talk football, it's from a different lens than even I look at or any of our coaches look at. So really excited about that. Coach B has been incredible to me, and I really like, he's helped me a lot get through this and make this. So I'm excited for a new guy to come in. I don't know who it's gonna be. I'm gonna help him. That's one thing I want to know, you guys to know and everybody to know, like I'm excited for this. I'm excited to transition. It's the best thing for my health. I'm excited to help the new guy come in. We'll do that in whatever way possible we can do to keep helping us compete in the Big Ten here. And this really, like I said it earlier, but like this staff, the university, the community, like this, it's a really special place. My family, we're really lucky to be a part of it. So we're really looking forward to this year, what it brings. Hopefully a year from now, we're having this conversation again and maybe getting into something else. But for now, this is what it will be, and I'm excited for it with that. So if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer those.
And just how do you feel?
I feel great.
Yeah.
I feel great. I really do. Just trying to get healthy. Just a lot of different things with diet, with lifestyle. A coach's life is not a really good avenue for a cancer patient. It's very stressful, a lot of work hours and all that. So it's been good to really step back, to see things from a different perspective. But I feel really good right now and really hopeful for the future.
What has that perspective given you about the job you've had, the football program, just what you've been doing for all your life?
Yeah, it's hard to bring me down. In that level, what I learned about myself as a coach is like I'm pretty hard on myself. I take everything to heart. If Coach B is in a staff meeting talking to, a GA, like I take it personally, like that's something I got to work on. So that's something for me. Just trying not to be stressed. It's easy to say, but it does take some perspective, and this definitely give me some of that perspective to live, a little bit healthier life. Honestly, from that perspective, that's what we're trying to do.
Good.
All good? Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Ben. Obviously, one of the things that I pride in our program is let everybody speak for themselves, right? So when I offered that opportunity for Ben, I thought he could speak a lot better than what I could, right? And to kind of echo his thoughts, like I can't say how much I appreciate Josh and administration all the way up to the chancellor letting us have these opportunities. I haven't really talked about it, but last year he kind of became a head coach analyst, right? So I used him in every capacity that I could. He's super intelligent. Obviously, he's been a running back. He's played tight end in the NFL, played tackle in the NFL, tight ends, played running back, coached running backs, and just it's been awesome for me to learn from him as well. So really couldn't be more excited about where we're at. The thing I told him, right, is like the only alarm that should wake you is in your head, right? Like you should never set an alarm. I don't want you here. I'm trying to get him to do as much as he can to recover. So with that being said, obviously I have one more position to fill. I've engaged in some conversations. It's kind of been on the down low, so today it's obviously going to get exposed. But just he had a conversation with our specialists and tight ends earlier to have our chance to move forward. But he's going to stay with us in every capacity. So with that, I know we want to catch Malik's debut when he comes on, so I'll answer questions up till we got to go, Brett, and then just interrupt me and we won't miss that. And I'll answer as many as we have to afterwards as well. Yeah.
Are you looking for specifically a tight ends coach, or do you want the same delegation of duties where it's tight ends and special teams?
Yeah. So right now it'd be a tight end special teams coach, which I focused in on a group of coaches that fit that mold. When originally when I lost a running back coach and outside linebacker coach, I knew that opened up some avenues for me. But when I began to focus in on Charlie, I knew he was going to be able to do that. Thad has actually coached special teams in the past as well, but it kind of just zeroed back to, and which is when I originally took this job, I had a group of about 5 or 6 coaches that are still on my list, right? That these guys didn't appear out of nowhere. Like I'm sure a lot of you didn't have Charlie Bullen on your radar for me to hire, right? But like he's a guy that was on my list, right? And everything that goes forward. So one of the things I pride myself on as a coach is every position that we have and an opportunity to, if you're a good football team, right, you usually lose coaches because they're good coaches, right? I found it interesting, right, within, I think the last year or two in the Big Ten, I don't know how long it's been since another Big Ten coach was hired off a staff that didn't win a championship, right? Like we were an 8-5 football team that had our D coordinator taken away, right? So it speaks volumes about this program and what we've been able to establish, and that's why coaches want to flock to here.
Brett, you talked a lot about wanting a pass rush
Yeah.
improvement. What in Charlie's skill set do you think can get the most out of the talent you have?
Well, first, it's kind of ironic, right? So I knew of Charlie. Jay Kaiser had worked with him, so Jay had brought it to my attention even when I was down there visiting. Hey, there's an Iowa guy here, da-da-da-da. But then Coach Jamison, who was down at FAU, went down to watch Miami work out, and he's like, hey, I met this guy. He was incredible on the field with our guys, and then a year later he saw him do a clinic, and he took the leadership role there. It was interesting as I decided to go down that path, and I reached out to him when he's at Arizona. They had transition, so I reached out to people in that organization, players I'd been around. Colt McCoy, right, a Texas quarterback, right, of all things. When he found out Charlie was coming here, sent me a text and talked about how much he respected him as a quarterback in the Cardinal system, right? That's when you get excited. Marcus Golden, who's a phenomenal pass rush guy, and I coached him at New York. Charlie coached him a lot better in Arizona, and he got 12 sacks. He couldn't get any from me, right? So it was just another great example of you try to hire people better than what you are. And I think now the pass rush game in the college versus the NFL is a little bit different, but I think when you bring in Coach Jamison, a lot has been said. I haven't released it publicly, but Aaron Henry will be our defense coordinator. I'm also naming Terrence Jamison our co-coordinator on defense. He'll be a lot involved with the rush game and up front and all that goes into it. Coach Boo as well. So I think the combination of those guys up front, as well as myself, is going to be able to put together a good plan.
Relatively skilled players incoming as freshmen, like what we see here. What's the process, or how do you think about getting them onto the field? Is it something you set a goal out to do right away, or do you know, okay, so-and-so might need a year to go?
Great question. I think each player is an individual plan, right? I don't think you can cookie cut anybody into it. Last year, Hank Beatty, I knew bring a skill set, right? And I knew what we want to do or how we want to do it, but he opened my eyes as a punt returner, right? There was just different things you explore. I've seen Malik play live on 2 different occasions, but I don't think I'm going to know as much about him as I do until he finally gets here. And you're certainly excited about where he is. I'm not going to slot him into a thing. I don't try to build preseason hype on anybody. I just want him to come here and do what they do. I would say overall, not just skill. We had our first AM workouts today, right? And there's some guys that have been in our program now 2-3 years, right? That especially guys that have been in here 3 years pre me, right? That if you haven't gotten on the field, I wanted to get their attention today, right? And we had our first AM workout together as a team, and it was by far light years ahead of anything we've ever done before. We jumped out. My first year here, our first workout was a 3.5-minute session, 5-minute sessions with a 2-minute break. Today we jumped into a 5-minute session, 1 period, and we had everybody handled it about as good as you can handle it. Some of the newcomers were a little bit ragtag, but we've almost doubled the volume and the intensity. And I think a lot of that was bowl practice. We were able to practice all the way till January 3rd. They went home for about a 2-week window, came back and jumped into it. That's what good teams do. Now you're on a pattern of continued success. So they jump into an 8-week program. We have a couple of freshmen today that I've been hearing a little grumbling since I got back in town. Guys working out with them at the wide receiver room, at the DB room, quarterbacks throwing to them. They're like, this guy can go, right? And it just makes their attention and their radar pick up pretty quickly.
Coach, I know you know the history of this place very well. A couple freshmen and receivers are really great from the get-go. Brandon Lloyd and Gorilla's Ben. Could Malik be one of those guys?
I appreciate the question, and again, I'm just going to say every player is kind of treated the same coming in, right? He's got a lot of obviously accolades. The thing I love about Malik, and I know he would appreciate that question, right? But one of the most humble, grounded, loves to compete. One of the things that talking to their coaches the first time I went in there is how much he loved to compete, right? And that was definitely apparent when you began to recruit him. The ground level base that I'm talking about, just how grounded he is. His mom and dad are incredibly great people that have raised a kid that is very thankful for the opportunities. He's always talking about giving back to his family, his community. You go into his home on that Sunday when he finally made it official and told me he was coming. His youth coach was there, right? His whole family and his youth coach, right? Just when you have something like that, that speaks volumes about who he is.
Right, can I ask you about the 2 quarterbacks you got out
Yeah.
of the portal?
Yeah.
What excited you about Luke Altmaier, and then the opportunity to bring in a guy like John as a veteran, previous starter?
Well, I think both of them, in case they both have played college football, right? So obviously Luke at Ole Miss and John and Mac, and when I popped on the film, you could see the ball come out of their hands, right? So if you're going to sign a quarterback, you better be able to throw, right? And they've checked the box there, right? So I'm the worst evaluator at that. It seemed like every quarterback I ever liked, they didn't like, and every quarterback coach liked, I didn't like, except for Russell Wilson. That was pretty unanimous. But I think about it last year when I saw Tommy. I saw the ball come out of Tommy's hand, and I'm like, okay, I checked the box there, right? Here we go. And then you got around him, right? And it was a little bit different process, but the first person, I only knew one person at Ole Miss, right? Well, I know Lane, but I didn't want to call Lane, but because he actually, something unique to Luke, he played in the bowl game, right? Like, he was in the portal and played because he didn't want to let his teammates down. Didn't have to do anything with him. Like, he could have easily walked out, right? He wanted to play for his teammates because he was one play away from being in the game, which happened the year before, right? And I remember when him and his parents came here and said they wanted to come, they're like, hey, he still wants to play in a bowl game. I'm like, go play. You know, I'm not going to deter that, right? Like, I'd love to see you in there. I don't want to wish ill will on somebody else, but if you get in, it means somebody else got hurt probably, right? And it just speaks volumes about Luke. But I remembered I called a contact who's in a support staff role, and I said, hey, tell me a little bit about Luke Altmaier. And he started laughing, and I'm like, what? He goes, he was the captain, or he was the coach of my son's Little League youth baseball team, right? And I know his son. Like, I've been around him. It's a guy that I've worked with in the past. And he said he single-handedly might be the greatest kid on our football team, right? And that just said volumes to me. John Paddock is obviously the grandson of John Wright. So, you know, he's not here because of that, but usually, I believe DNA is strong, right? Like, I see things in my two daughters that I know I had a hand in. So I think that DNA is big, and John's family, the success they've had here, the immediate feeling you get when you talk to him, he's got great leadership skills and talent. And then obviously our freshman too, Cal has been a guy that's jumped out from day one. Every time I called one of the wide receivers, I call Casey Washington on a blind random Wednesday. I was like, what do you think? He's like, Coach, I'm at lunch with him right now at Chick-fil-A, right? Like, I mean, he's automatically building those relationships and moving forward, so it's fun to watch.
When Sean took over special teams last fall, was that always just going to be a one-season deal, or how did that?
Great question. So, you know, as you follow college football, there's been some talk about analysts being promoted to full-time or being able to be on the field. That was being proposed a year ago when this first came up with Ben. So I originally had hired him and Mess, and I was going to hopefully kind of job share the tight ends and special teams role. But then when that got denied by the NCAA, I knew I needed to have an on-the-field special teams coach. That's why I called Sean, hired him, and Sean was an incredible asset to our football team. The way our kickers and punters performed, but also how they grew. He ran all four phases of our kicking game. We added some wrinkles with things I've done and what I believed in, but he's been absolutely awesome. So a byproduct of this, I need a tight end special teams combo. So Sean and Mess aren't with us at this point right now, but that's kind of how that evolved. That's why it kind of took place late. They kept telling us it was going to pass, and it kept getting postponed. And then ironically this year, I got a text saying that they had passed that same rule, which is going to kind of change the way I thought, but now it's been rescinded, so we don't know if we're going to have that rule take place, which is why I believe you got to have someone on the field that can coach the specialists. There's some programs that do it from an analyst position, which I don't know how they do it, but some people do it that way. So like I do know I want someone in this position that can work with our guys on the field legally. I'm gonna go ahead and show that real quick. I can come back and answer some questions. It's only gonna take 5 minutes or.